And Dan, in terms of that uncertainty from an EB-5 perspective, a lot of times uh, political uncertainty leads to induced demand short term for EB-5, and but I've heard you say before, like, but long term, that uncertainty isn't good for any of these programs. Is that, do you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, the we see, for example, with this H-1B move, our phones definitely lit up, with people who maybe were already on H-1Bs and were thinking about, how do I have a longer term immigration strategy for the United States? And suddenly this new huge, uncertainty and potential financial burden that, is dropped on you overnight. I mean, people look for stability. People look for predictability, especially in processes like this, that involve, their entire family and, where they live and, the very basic, elements of their lives. So, yeah, I mean, it does, it can, and I won't be surprised if this does have, some short-term, kind of uptick in interest in EB-5 from people who might or might not otherwise be thinking about it. But long term, it really does not help. I mean, over time, people have to be able to trust what 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 the program is that they're signing up for, whether it's H-1B or otherwise, um, when they sign up, because it's a multi-year process that requires, significant investments of time and capital and risk and opportunity cost, and it's in my mind, it's just not good long term to have this kind of volatility. But with this administration, for better or worse, the Trump team is very comfortable with volatility. They're very comfortable getting people out of their comfort zones, and they think that they've been very clear, that they think that the opportunity to come to this country is worth it. And they're willing to sort of, from many H1B visa holders, perspective, they're willing to do it the hard way. And it's not how I would do it, but that's the judgment that they've made.
One practical impact on, there are a number of reasons why people on H-1Bs want to file for EB-5 and do concurrent processing to be able to get themselves off of H-1B eventually. Now, people who are on H-1B who have done a concurrent adjustment through EB-5 often have a choice. They can travel with their H-1B visa even while their green card case is pending. But once they get an advanced parole travel document, they can travel without travel. They can travel on their travel document rather than H-1B status. Because of the fact that traveling in H-1B status may incur a $100,000 cost, it will give more incentive to people to want to file for concurrent adjustment and get a travel document so that they don't have to travel on H-1B and pay $100,000.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're President Trump, that's one of the cross currents that's, arguably a policy win. If it's inducing people to, shift to a visa status that results in a significant investment in the U.S. economy and required job creation, you know, who knows? I mean, arguably that's a win for them. But it's a volatile way to go about it.
Yeah, a couple questions here that are relevant from the participants. And this is sort of what you were saying, Rob. I just want to go ahead and read this. And on the topic of travel, I have also heard that EB-5 concurrent filers with travel authorization have had some difficulty when re-entering the country. Just curious if you know this to be true, Ron.
So people should still be able to travel if they have a travel document. All right, full stop. Now, with that said, there have been all sorts of things I can only characterize as strange events at airports with Customs and Border Protection, where people who are completely legal are questioned sometimes for many hours, and in the end, they're allowed in. This shouldn't be happening. As a bottom, if you have a perfectly valid application, you have a travel document that you got, you have no history of criminal problems, there's nothing negative about you in the government database, you should feel comfortable traveling with a government issued travel document. With that said, we all know we're in strange times. All right, I've been doing immigration law for over 40 years, and I've never experienced the kinds of times we're in now. And so therefore, part of my advice to my clients, way more today than it's ever been in the last 40 years, is, yeah, maybe if you don't have to travel, it's not the best time in the world to travel. If you have to travel, you're perfectly legal. You should be able to get back, but strange things can happen at airports right now. And that's a kind of speech I'm giving every day to my clients.